Hi guys, welcome to the episode of Mentor Asia Pacific. But we're at Coffee Sled at the moment. We're going to thank them for allowing us to interview here. I have a great mentor today. This is Farron. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Right on, man. So we had a lengthy conversation, but previously before we had this, but I want to share one thing that most people might not know about you.
Oh, something that most people might not know about me.
Yep.
Let's see. I used to live in Australia for a bit.
Australia for a bit. So what's a bit?
A couple years.
And what made you live out there?
A girl.
A girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always a good motivation to go somewhere. Right on. Okay, so by trade you are what do you do, man, for a living?
I work in conservation full-time for the Nature Conservancy, and I work on the side as a freediving instructor, Guam's first PADI freediving instructor, by the way, and also I occasionally teach scuba diving as well.
Okay, so how did you get there? What's your story on each of those different categories of your work right now?
So I had a pretty unremarkable childhood, I'd say, and early adult life. And then I met my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and she was from Korea. She kind of exposed me to a bit more of the world just from interacting with her, different kind of culture, different way of living. And she was only living here for a year, and after she left, we didn't want to, break it off. So I went to go visit her over there. She came to visit me, did that a couple of times. Got way too expensive, losing way too much money. So we just decided, hey, let's just go to a neutral country where we can both live and work legally, and go from there. So I couldn't live and work in Korea. She couldn't come back to Guam or the US. So we decided on Australia because it sounded like a cool country. Yeah.
And then based on your career choice at the moment, so we're gonna kind of hone in more on the scuba diving and the free diving part, since I think that's what's more relevant at the moment. How did you get into that hobby or your choice or passion?
Well, before I ever moved anywhere, while I was still here, my boss at my old employment at the time knew I was really into free diving. I would just go out on the reef and try to touch the bottom or just hang out with the fish. And he asked me to stop. He begged me to stop because he was afraid I was gonna die or something bad was gonna happen to me. So he kind of pressured me into getting my scuba license, which I did. We became really good dive buddies. And I just eventually worked my way up until I was a dive master. And then when I moved to Australia, I worked as an underwater photographer on the Great Barrier Reef, which was like a dream job of dream jobs. It was just magical. After that first year in Australia, I moved to Thailand for a couple of months where I did my scuba instructor course, and then back to Australia. And then after that was over, I proposed to my wife, and then we went to Korea, her home country, for a couple of months, and then came home, got married, and I was teaching scuba full time. And during that, there was a new development within PADI, the scuba organization I teach in, that they were going to roll out a freediving branch. And I jumped on it, got my training for it, and became Guam's first PADI freediving instructor.
That's cool.
And if I can expand on something there, while I was living abroad in Australia and Korea and Thailand, I noticed some really big, profound things that really affected me. Like the word conservation entered my vocabulary. I saw how seriously people took taking care of their land and taking care of their water, how it's shown in legislation and enforcement and people's attitudes, how they don't throw their trash around, which we do still have a big problem here with Guam, with people dumping. And I just assumed these things were normal. And it took me leaving to notice some things about Guam that are substandard, and some things about Guam that are just amazing that other people don't have. So it really gave me a really great appreciation. So I have these great two facets of my employment where I can enrich people's lives with diving, and also enrich the land and water that I care about so much.
That's an up and coming topic at the moment. There's a lot of momentum about conservation. I think a lot of the talk right now is sustainability and what's happening on Guam. So you mentioned a couple of the struggles that you might have had, deciding where to live with your wife and figuring out, what your passion is. Were there other struggles you might have had that kind of, maybe caused a bump in the road for you?
Sure. There's never not been a struggle, ever. Okay, kids, if you're watching this, right, I mean, you feel like you're going to graduate and then you're going to be an adult and things are going to go a lot smoother down the road. I promise you, 30-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds, they still feel pretty much the same as you do right now. We're all kind of stumbling through life trying to figure things out. There's never not going to be a struggle. It's just how you manage that struggle. For me, I'd say a couple of the biggest struggles was financial. I had no financial education at all. I didn't go to school, or I went to school for a little bit. Wasn't very productive about it. I don't think I was ready. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it took me took my wife actually to help show me more, and reading a certain book. It's called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And that really got things on track. So right when I turned 18, I got his credit card offer in the mail, which of course I took advantage of because I can get a free credit card. And I ruined my credit history at age 18 and 19. I went into debt very early on, and I was in debt my entire adult life until a couple of years ago. And I paid off all of my previous debts and a car. So I'd managed to pay off a 5-year loan on a car in a year and 6 months, in a year and a half.
So along that way, to kind of get you out of your struggle, to talk about your wife being a mentor you, at least in the financial area.
Sure.
Okay. Were there any other mentors, either in any of your fields or in your passion that kind of inspired you to become who you are now?
Other mentors, sure. My old dive instructor here is named Luis Cabral. A lot of people probably know him because he used to be a school teacher at Sanchez, I believe, for a long time. And he kind of raised me up from like a beginner diver to my dive master, and he was really cool and kind of showed me the ropes and everything like that. So I definitely had a big positive influence from him with my diving philosophy and how I approach instruction and how I teach people.
All right. Okay, so we're kind of big about giving advice, so that's very specific. But advice to kind of yourself. So let's say you go back 10 years ago, 2009, you see yourself, what advice would you have given yourself?
Get in control of finances. My just personal finance. I'm not talking about like investing in stocks or anything big like that, but just basic finances. For example, like I wish I knew then what I know now, where everybody says they want to be a millionaire, they want to be rich. And literally just about everyone can do that, if they just start early and they start contributing to their retirement. We have things called compound interest, IRAs, Roth IRAs, which sound big and scary. I don't fully comprehend them, but you don't have to. If you just start young and you just start paying into those things, you do a little bit of basic research and you can be a millionaire at the time you retire. No big fancy gimmicks, you don't have to start a big successful business. You can just get started young and then you can be in control of your life. I mean, people like to say that money is the root of all evil, which is technically, they're misquoting something. It's more like the love of money is the root of all evil, but money itself isn't evil. It's money is power, and you can use power for good or power for evil. But in its most basic sense, money is paying for an emergency car repair, or if someone goes to the hospital, or if you need to go to the hospital. Money can make those things happen, and it can either be a big shock and trauma to your life, or if you're responsible very young, or even later on, it's never too late. If you're responsible, it can be a big trauma, or it can be a kind of a mild inconvenience.
Yep. So money is more of a tool. Depends on what you use that tool for. Okay, so let's jump the other direction. Let's go all the way across, and let's go to 2029.
Okay.
So what do you see yourself doing in 2029?
Oh, I have plans, but I don't want to share those publicly just yet. They're still stewing and they're cooking in the works, so we'll see how they develop a lot as time comes. But I can promise a couple of things. I'll be right here. My mission is to just live the best life I can, make Guam the best I can, and I'll still be diving and I'll still be teaching it. I'll still be advocating for for Guahan herself and her environment, and for diving safely.
So you just got certified to be a free dive instructor, is that correct?
Slightly incorrect.
Okay.
I've been a free diving instructor for a few years now, but I've just achieved the maximum kind of qualifications. I could teach until now. I've been teaching beginner and advanced courses, and as of just yesterday, I can start teaching master courses. So I can teach all levels of free diving now, and I'm really excited to see what goes on, how it'll progress. We have some amazing spearfishers here, much more talented than me. I'm not talented. But there's just some gaps in the knowledge in some of the community, as you would expect, without that formal structure in the way. Yeah.
If there are some students out there that are interested in freediving, let's advertise a little, like where will they find you and what can they expect from your course?
Sure. You can email me at diveonguam@gmail.com, or you can search for me on Instagram at the Guam Guy. There's underscores between the words, or on YouTube, the Guam Guy, 3 words. What can you expect in my course? You can expect to learn how to safely hold your breath, how to prepare for a breath hold, how to breathe after the breath hold, which most people don't think about. The stages of the breath hold, what happens in your body and your mind. Freediving is literally in our DNA. So I will try to expose that. It's like we have this latent superpower that's hidden in there, like Spider-Man or whoever, although his origin story was getting bit by a spider. But anyway, we're born with our superpower. We don't acquire it from an external source. And I just try to expose people to that and draw it out of them and show them that we can do some amazing things. So just like whales and dolphins, they have something called the mammalian dive response that prepares you for freediving. Your heart rate slows down, the blood kind of pools in your core to support the vital organs. There's a couple other things that happen, and we humans have it too. So I try to teach people how to understand it and how to use it and how to be effective diving animals and be safe.
Cool.
We practice safety aspects as well, such as how to be not only a good diver, but how to be a good buddy and how to recognize problems and respond to them effectively.
All right, guys, we're going to thank Farron for being on the show today. He shared his story with us. Hopefully you get to hear more from him later on. But once again, that's an episode from Mentor Asia Pacific. Signing out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks guys for tuning into Mentor Asia Pacific. Once again, I'm Alvin Sangha. Check out all our social media, that's going to be linked down below. Stay tuned, more mentors are to come. We're going to be releasing a mentor every week. And please leave a comment down below for any mentors that you'd like to be featured on the channel, any business professional, entrepreneur, or anybody that you believe is inspiring and can provide to be a mentor for the youth of Guam. Until next time, thank you very much. Sangha out.